Welcome back to Another Dimension. I'm Trask.
I'm Quinn.
I am Taylor.
Hey, Taylor.
Howdy.
Did you hear about the fuel shortage on the East Coast?
No.
There are gas stations rationing fuel out on the East Coast, the Eastern Seaboard, ranging from Florida all the way up to upstate, Maine, all that kind of stuff, because they can't get fuel. They're allowing people certain amounts of fuel a day, and
Due to the hurricane?
I don't know exactly how this happened, but I read an article saying that the U.S. is exporting record amounts of fuel every day, 11.2 million barrels of fuel, and I think there's 44 gallons in a barrel, if I remember right, something like that. But they can't get the trucking from the refinery down in the Gulf out to the East Coast. They're struggling to find trucking to get it there. So imagine what that does to a trucking operation or a school bus
Isn't there
operation.
like a pipeline or something?
I don't know. I don't know anything about that, but
Thankfully, there's somebody's next business venture.
a pipeline,
Or some trucks down there.
right? I don't get it. How can we put a man on the moon and not figure out how to have enough fuel in certain places? What are your thoughts?
You don't want to know my thoughts.
Let's hear them. Let's hear them.
No, I don't know. I think at times some
We can
of
check
it
explicit.
is no. I think at times some of it is created, and yeah,
Created by who? The government?
maybe big
The
oil
Big oil?
suppliers. I
Okay.
don't know.
I can see that. But to what benefit? Because they're
they're-
not selling the fuel. What? I
Yeah,
guess,
but they're raising the price. I would guess.
yeah.
You don't really see a food shortage, right? The trucks are still getting the food to the East Coast, and that's coming from
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, other than produce, really.
Yeah.
And like almonds out of Georgia, like I don't think anything else is produced over there. I don't know. If that actually happens, someone should be thrown in jail.
I guarantee it happens.
I know it happens, but why is it allowed?
Big money. Hush money.
Taxes,
Yeah.
campaign money.
I did not hear that, so I'm kind of surprised by that.
Yeah. John brought it up like a week ago. Remember he came in? I thought he was kidding.
Well, he said his brother-in-law said it, and he asked us if we heard about it.
Yeah.
You sure this is real?
100%. Well, I guess I don't know. I saw it on the internet. But I didn't check the sources. But it was on Transport Topics.
Oh,
So I would assume
pretty
it
legit.
probably is legit. Yeah. I don't know. It's weird.
only on the East Coast.
Only on the East Coast right now, but take this into perspective. If they can't find trucking from the Gulf to the East Coast, why are they not saying, hey, we'll pay you double or triple or quadruple to take some of your trucks that are running, they're probably not running to Texas because there's oil fields there, but north or wherever, and saying, hey, you guys need to help us out right now. Help us get through this. Wouldn't you think that would happen?
Yeah, and I think, we're in the dairy state. Look at milk. Milk used to stay local.
Yep.
Now they truck it all over the place. Michigan was a hotbed for a long time.
Well, they just put up that like super farm out there too. Remember that? Like 2 or 3 years ago?
Super farm or super milk processing
yeah.
plant. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we've shipped milk out of here all over. But I don't know. I don't know why I thought that was interesting. I did, but
It is. I guess you'll have to keep an eye on it.
we will.
Okay.
Another in the news topic. What are your thoughts on autonomous trucks? You think they're on the road?
Do I think they're on the road?
Yeah.
Well, from what I've read on the internet, they have done testing with them. Yes. Didn't Budweiser do it? Out in
Anheuser-Busch did something out
or
in Colorado,
something.
I believe, yeah.
I would say yes, they are probably on the road in certain areas.
They are on the road 7 days a week
Okay.
for IKEA
For IKEA.
from a company called Kodiak Robotics. they developed the technology to have autonomous driving from Baytown, Texas to Dallas, Texas, multiple deliveries a day.
Is there a hub in Dallas or something?
They must have a hub or something there. But they are running 7 days a week, multiple loads a day. The driver doesn't have to be in control of the vehicle. The truck drives itself. The only thing the driver does is unhook and rehooks the trailer.
They still have to be aware and alert and all that stuff.
I'm sure it's probably just like, hey, I have a Tesla. It can drive me from A to B. I can't sleep.
Yeah, you can't take a nap.
But you could definitely... What does that do to hours of service eventually?
For me, that would be super boring. I can't stay awake as a passenger in a car. So I don't, and they're on the regular old highways.
Yeah, on the regular old highways.
What's the advantage of that?
Driving down driver wages. Eventually, that's what Kodiak Robotics is hoping to do.
Okay.
Which I don't agree with.
Correct.
But also because of the trucker shortage. They couldn't find enough people.
You still have to have a CDL, right?
Yeah, I think right now, but eventually you might not.
That's scary.
You don't need a special license. You need a driver's license to drive an electric car, like those kind of things. You're not doing anything. They've reported one accident since August of, I guess this has been going on since their trial in August of 2019, if I remember right. One accident. And it was them getting rear-ended. It wasn't their trucks.
Why wouldn't you do that in South Dakota?
No, yeah. Somewhere where there's nothing around.
Yes.
Maybe there's not enough volume to get the data.
That could be.
I don't know. But the Greater Dallas Trucking Association, there's like 150 companies in that, probably like ours up here. Mm-hmm. And every one of them is pissed at this robotics company because it is, they're saying it's slashing driver wages, taking away jobs. It hasn't taken away any jobs yet, but it could. And where do you stop then?
It dumbs down that profession.
Yeah,
right.
One that we're trying to build back up,
yeah.
And one that is very vital to the United States and the world.
I think in certain situations,
cheese deliveries, 4 a.m.
Sure,
like that would be nice.
Yeah, but it still has to be operated by a human being, right? Or manned by a human being.
Maybe, but take that one step further. What happens if you're Kodiak Robotics and you have 3 of these trucks that drive themselves? Hey, you're going to use all your over-the-road guys to bring everything back, and you're going to send these 3 trucks on your less desirable lanes. You're going to send them to the places that no one else wants to go. New York City. I don't know of anyone that I have ever met in the trucking industry that said I wanted to go there.
Yeah.
Hey, these are going to go out there. Okay, that's a benefit.
Yeah. How are you going to navigate that, though?
Right. So is this based on GPS? I don't know any of that. But also, what happens, flip that again, okay, everything comes back to the yard, and all of a sudden you have 3 of these robots running around delivering all your local stuff, picking everything up, getting it ready for your outbound guys.
And this isn't to take anything away from anybody that works in the railroad industry, but is this kind of like the modern day railroad? I mean, the rail puts a bunch of freight and it's operated by a few people.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot going into running a train up and down the tracks.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, but they're moving more volume with less manpower, I guess.
Look at it from a company standpoint. I'm sure that just because it's an autonomous truck doesn't mean it needs to be driven autonomously.
Yeah.
Okay, you have a guy that runs it all day, and then at night when the roads are less busy or whatever that may be, you have it out making trailer drops or doing this.
With what, a 12-year-old kid in it?
Well, maybe. You pay someone to do it, I'm sure.
Man.
I did not expect it to happen this quick. Because now, what's next? Amazon? The drone?
I will say that it's not going to affect us.
Right now.
The flatbed industry.
I would agree.
Or anything that you have to put some sort of manual labor in the trucking industry,
Yep.
flatbed just comes to mind.
You're throwing straps, you're throwing chains, you're not going to have a robot driver. At least, hopefully, in our life.
Unless it's going to come up with like some big, huge roll tarp thing that's
maybe
strong enough to hold it down.
A robot tarper.
That'd be all right.
That would be pretty cool. But
I guess
I don't know.
that's
I did not, like I said, Texas is a big state.
yeah, but Baytown to Dallas, not.
Baytown's down here, right? Or is it?
I thought it was more by Houston, but I could be
You're
wrong.
probably right. Baytown is. It's over here on the.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could. That doesn't make sense to me.
No.
Unless they're
Like
bringing it into a
Amarillo
port or
to
something.
San Antonio,
Yep.
maybe.
Yep.
Amarillo.
Nevada to Montana.
Well, you got mountains.
Mountains. Kansas to Wyoming. Chicago. Put her on autopilot. You don't have to deal with it. Can you imagine that? Would you be able to knowingly
No.
leave,
Sit in a vehicle.
leave
No.
Green Bay, Wisconsin, whoop, 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 punch a couple buttons saying, I'm going to Fairfield, Ohio.
Did we talk about this in the past? About like I was looking for a different pickup truck.
Yeah.
We talked about that already.
I
Like
don't
with
know.
like an autonomous, it can drive itself, or
Yep.
like your Tesla.
Yep.
So there's a camera on you to make sure that you're staying
Oh,
alert.
Yeah.
I can't say never because it's probably going to happen, but I wouldn't not want to do that because now you're going to be incriminated for
Or
picking your
caught-
nose
or
for
caught
whatever.
picking your nose, yeah.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine driving through traffic in Chicago, just sitting there, no hands on the wheels, just paying attention.
I would be a nervous wreck.
I think that would scare me more.
Yes.
Like I'm putting up my life and others' lives on the line with the trust in this vehicle.
Yeah.
A lady in that article said that she feels less safe driving next to one of those trucks than she does one operated by a human. I would say I would agree with that.
If they're going to
right
have those
now.
on the road, they better educate the general public,
Right.
right?
You're going to get some dickhead, like 20-year-old kid that's had a couple beers, like coming home from the bar. Watch this, guys. It's an automated truck. Slam on the brakes in front of it and get piled into.
Well, and if you're operating that autonomous truck, they're designed, I would assume that the computer is smarter than a human, right? They're going to react differently than a human.
Correct.
But if I'm in that truck and I do whatever, I swerve to the right, where it's saying that should swerve to the left.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I think down the line it could be safer for the public. That's my approach. And I'm not saying that truck drivers aren't safe by any means, but if you take out, and I go back to watching like Sunday football. Amazon, that AWS has like the probability of this pass being caught and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
If they can get that down to basically zero, and a human at its best would be 1% or 5% or whatever that would be, generally it's going to make the roads safer. And I know that we're in the trucking industry, and this will never happen during our lifetimes. But
Never say never.
right? But in theory, it's probably a
So airplanes have autopilot, right?
yep. And I know a pilot.
You do.
I'll tell you about that.
So is that the same thing?
don't know.
To me, it's logical
I've never
to be in the air.
never flown a plane, but my wife and I had an argument about this because we both know a guy that is a pilot. And I said, it can't be that hard. Like, I guarantee that he gets up in the air and just pushes a couple buttons and away you go. And then you get an alert 15 minutes before you're coming into the airport and boop, there you go.
And you tell everybody
Yep.
and
Please fasten your seatbelts. And, you prepare for landing.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, you got to go to school for that. I'm like, yeah, I know. But I'm sure if you needed to, like I've watched Walker, Texas Ranger, you can fly a plane if you need to.
Well, they've had instances where, like, pilots have medical issues
Yeah.
and, like, passengers that have no experience have landed these jets and planes.
Yeah.
By just walking through air control.
Yep.
Press this, move
Yep.
this to the left.
Yep.
Landed.
And basically he said,
We're not discounting any
No,
pilots
I'm not.
right now.
I'm not.
No.
But
No.
But he said, basically, you get to 1,000 feet and turn around autopilot and kick back and read the newspaper. That's what he said. Imagine doing that with 80,000 pounds behind you.
and people everywhere.
Right. At least up in the air, you don't
There's no
knock
traffic.
on wood.
There's no traffic.
There's no traffic.
And there's computer systems for the traffic you are going to run into. They know where everybody's at.
Okay, so why do we trust those?
Because there's no traffic.
Fair.
To avoid traffic in the air, you can move up, down. It's either stop left or right on the road.
Yeah, I
You
suppose.
can't go up or down
Yeah.
to avoid something.
What happens if one of those fails, and you can't override it?
Right. It's probably going to be a movie about it.
Probably has happened.
Tom Cruise will play. But I don't know. It was weird to me. I did not expect that. And it's been going on. I feel like that would be like putting a man on the moon in the transportation industry, in my opinion.
Okay. Did you buy stock in them?
No.
Okay.
Not yet.
You want a maintenance tip?
Sure.
So we've been doing maintenance tips. We've been doing a lot of winterizing tips. This one's kind of a year-round thing, but it's more prevalent now. Every truck has an air system on it, compressor, and compressors can create condensation and water, which gets into the air system. There's drain valves on the air tanks. Make sure you're draining your air tanks. If there's water coming out of them, make sure you do something about it. There are air dryers in the system, which basically sucks the water out. So you can replace your air dryer cartridge. If you don't do that and you do have water in your air system, it's going to freeze up. And
Which could mean?
it could mean that your brakes aren't going to release. It could mean that your brakes aren't going to work. It could mean that you're going to hook to a trailer that's going to be froze up. I believe John brought this up. If like an automatic transmission is run with air, so if you have a frozen air line to your transmission, I would think that wouldn't work. So check your air tanks, drain your air tanks, and change your air dryer cartridge.
What can one do if they are in a spot where their airlines are froze?
There are airline conditioners or alcohol that you can put in your system. We don't like to do that. Isopropyl, I believe, would be one. But what that does, it goes through the air system, and then if there is a valve, well, there's valves in the air system, right? So it could eat the valve.
Okay.
It's hard on equipment.
But in a pinch, it could
In
be
a
done.
pinch. Or, I mean, I always carry a little propane torch. You can heat fittings, just not too much.
Because that's probably bad on it, too.
Yeah, I mean, you can melt stuff and burn holes, start things on fire. But that's our maintenance
That's
tip.
a whole nother problem.
Yeah.
Next week's tip will be don't start things on fire.
From the fire chief.
No. Last week's podcast winner, Jared Zwires. Thank you for liking and sharing. Continue to like and share the posts, and everyone, subscribe. It really helps. Other than that, the topic
We had a lot of
it was a big week.
contestants
Yeah.
this week.
Our biggest ever, probably.
Yeah. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Means we must be doing something right.
I don't know about that.
Did you want to hop into a topic?
Yeah. Let's lay one on.
So the industry has been going hot and heavy for a couple years now.
Mm-hmm.
It's seemingly is slowing down with sporadic.
It is slowing down.
It is. With sporadic weeks of busy, slow, busy, slow, busy.
Mm-hmm.
What is it going to take from not only a driver's aspect, a company's aspect, and a customer or a shipper to help get everyone through this?
I think we could start by defining spot market and contract, right?
Okay.
So we are a spot market carrier. What that means is we will bid on
Contract.
typical or not everyday lanes. You need a load from point A to point B, we bid on that, and that's on the spot market. Contract rates are where there's a load every single week from point A to point B.
Load of cheese.
Sure, you're going from Green Bay to Las Cruces,
New Mexico.
Every
Probably picking
single
up a load
week.
of cheese out of there and coming back.
Right. So high volume shippers usually like contracted rates.
Toilet paper, steel.
Yeah, they'll do commodity, right.
Yep.
So if they have overflow or one-offs, they'll take it to the spot market. But so the contracts vary, typically a year. But when COVID happened, I heard we don't do contracts, but we heard that
they threw them out the window.
well, they were shortening the length of them just due to volatility of fuel.
Yeah, I heard as low as month by month.
Right.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. But what that does for a larger carrier and a shipper is, hey, we know that lane's going to be covered every week, and so that shipper's happy. And from a carrier standpoint, hey, I know I'm going to this destination every week. I can find a customer down there to get me back or get me where I need to go.
Or bounce me here and then.
Yeah, it's consistent. It's
a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. So that's typically how contracted stuff works. The spot market. So where I was going with this spot market versus contract rates, when you look at them, like during COVID, the spot market was very high.
Yep.
The rates were astronomical. And those fluctuate. So if we're going to go into a
based on
downturn,
capacity, I'm assuming.
Based on capacity and volume that the customers have. So going into a downturn, the spot market is going to and has been dropping, where the contract is here. The contract is more steady, and if you're in a contract going into a downturn, I would feel more comfortable,
correct,
as a carrier because, hey, when it was great,
I was taking one.
I was taking one for the team, but now when it's bad,
I'm going to get rewarded.
So, and hopefully your customer, you have a good relationship with them and they realize that, right?
Yep.
And most do, but there are those that don't.
Yep.
So where was I going with this?
You were defining
contract and spot market.
And I guess really what I was going at with this was there are kind of to piggyback on last week, like the inefficiencies in trucking and those kind of things. But each leg of this stool, I guess let's call it, plays a crucial role in making sure that everything keeps going.
Mm-hmm.
From a company standpoint, hey, are we doing everything we can to find a shipment, not bouncing guys, not doing this, not doing that, or getting crafty or cagey or whatever we have to do? From a driver's standpoint, are we being as efficient as we can? Are we
making sure they're getting money in their pocket?
Correct. Are they being paid? You know?
Yep.
Because everyone's first go-to is, layoff or...
I spoke to 3 different manufacturers this week that had already made cuts.
Yeah.
I thought that was
drastic
and pretty early. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you go from busy to 1 or 2 slow weeks, and then all of a sudden, hey, I got to get rid of people? It's a different
mentality. That's bottom line business, right?
Yeah.
Like that it's not a people type scenario.
That's about $1.
That's about $1. And
does it work? Yeah.
Well, let's be honest. That's what business is about.
Yep.
But you have to, especially, I don't know. We're never going to be like that.
No.
So.
But I don't know. That was my topic. We'd probably cut that out.
No, that was good. People want to know what's going on.
I don't think we really answered.
I kind of went on a tangent there, so I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
So what was the topic?
Just what it will take if the industry flips.
Okay. So from a company standpoint?
Yeah.
So
what does that entail?
So what does the long run look like?
Yeah.
I think it, like you said, it's going to be getting creative,
Yep.
changing the way we think. For so long, if you look at us, like we would go out and we wanted to get back
Because we're busy.
because we were busy. We had to get our customer freight out. Well, now we're still steady,
Yep.
but the urgency to get somebody back home to get back out
Isn't as
isn't
important.
there, right? So, hey, instead of going from, we're going from here to Minneapolis, and instead of going from Minneapolis back home, can we go to Chicago? Can we
Yep.
go to a different area where traditionally freight has been good for us,
Yep.
or we have a customer, or keep it in the lanes that historically have been good for us.
Correct.
And
You said before, don't make a shitty situation worse.
right.
Because that's going to happen is we're going to be put into positions to where we have to take a load to go somewhere because all of a sudden, hey, something canceled or something pushed or whatever. And let's not just take the first load. Let's make sure that we take a load that we know we can get something back.
Yeah, and everybody's different, but you may see $2 a mile out of here going to the East Coast, let's just say.
Yep.
And you may see $3 a mile from here going to Utah,
Yep.
Wyoming, something like that. And we, at least for us, history will tell us that going to the East Coast
Is better.
is better. There's just more freight out there. Apparently, there's no fuel, but but it's just for
might not
our business, for the
necessarily
flatbed, that's where the lanes are.
Correct. And that's our sweet spot. Not the East Coast, but that general area. Coming back, we're going through our sweet spots.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
Out here,
it's really hard for us,
yeah, and that's not
and I'm sure there's people that would
the other way around.
flip it. Yeah,
I'll grab a load of this and I'll get right back home. And
Yep.
that's okay. But that's not west of the Mississippi.
it's difficult for
It's
us.
difficult.
There's what is out there? Hay, lumber.
Yeah. Rock.
We don't have that great network out there, so maybe that's. Like I said, you could talk to somebody else and they'd be like, well, why would you ever want to go to Ohio?
Yeah.
Well,
Because-
we have a steel network there, right?
Yep.
So
And we can get back home. Mm-hmm. And it's the perfect distance, a day out, day back.
that's our opinion.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's all that matters.
that's just what we've learned.
Yep.
So, yeah, don't make a bad situation worse by not having a network and saying, you know what, I'm going to go to,
Kansas.
sure. And now I'm sitting in Kansas, and the closest thing is, what? St. Louis,
Yeah.
maybe?
Maybe.
Or
Some bread.
we've always lived by the thing too. If we have a destination, don't deadhead the other way, right?
Correct.
Now, if we're in Kansas, for example, and we want to go to Green Bay, we're not deadheading to New Mexico.
Or Colorado to
Yep.
pick up a load. We're not going to deadhead to Nebraska to come back with a load here when we could go here to pick up a load to come home.
Mm-hmm.
But if we know we have a customer here, we may deadhead or try to find a load going to there. It's just a lot of different mindsets, and you got to look at the bigger picture of this is where the dollar actually counts. Like let's try to drive home as much as we can right now because it might not be there tomorrow. And I'm not saying that as a doom and gloom thing, but right now it may make sense to bring a guy home from Minneapolis or something like that. In a couple months, it might not. You
Right.
might have to send him to somewhere else to get him back home, even though it's right there. So
That was interesting.
that was. People probably don't want to hear that. Yeah. So that's our wrap for the week.
Yeah.
Unless your head's still spinning.
No, I'm just thinking, what else can people do in a downturn?
I mean,
If it happens, and we are definitely seeing backhauls are more difficult, backhauls are cheaper, and
stay loyal, stay true. You always said the grass is greener where you water it.
right.
Yeah, there's going to be something big and better or whatever that may happen. But
And when your bread and butter, if you will, your core customers struggle, don't forget about that. It's not always better to move on to something else.
Correct.
If
Because
you look
they
at,
kept you busy.
yeah, look, if you look at our customers this year, probably if you took our top 10 customers, I will bet from last year, I'll bet 5 of them are not in the top 10 this year.
No.
Some of our heavy hitters were slow.
Yep.
Throughout the year. Now, some of them are picking up now.
Yep.
But, hopefully they're not going to turn their back on us.
No.
But we're not going to turn our back on them either.
No.
So
you never can. Never shut a door.
Yeah.
Even when you want to, you don't. Because
there's a few.
There's a few.
And there's one in particular that just doesn't go away.
No.
We even told them.
We tried to.
Yeah, twice.
But I don't know. That's all.
All right, real quick, we have a request. What is the story with the guy that sits underneath the table down there in between you guys?
The story with that guy is
He was in our fish tank.
he was in our fish tank
That's why he's mounted to a tile.
because he floats.
Yep.
But the story with him is a little bit foggy, so I'm going to I don't know that I'm going to get this right.
Bullet points are okay.
So
He used
I
to have a
bought
sign.
this, like Keep On Trucking or something.
Super trucker.
Super Trucker.
Yep.
I bought this building, and that was left with this building.
Yep.
And I believe, I shouldn't even say this, I believe it was a gift to the building's former owner from his mother-in-law.
Yeah, it was. And I remember the day he came in and noticed it in the fish tank.
Yeah.
So
But
we
he
took
didn't
it
take
out.
it.
No, he left it.
Yeah.
But we took it out of respect for him.
Right. And now it's on display. Now it's
For everybody to see. Could
yeah.
be in a better spot. Okay.
but
we just
yeah,
had a
I believe it
request.
was a gift from his mother-in-law. And
I didn't know people paid attention to that little stuff.
Yeah, somebody asked what's up with the little statue underneath the table.
On what?
Someone just asked.
Oh.
So we have to answer to the people.
All right.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah,
what, is that a wrap?
that's a wrap.
All right.
Think so.
Turn it off, Taylor.
All right, guys, that is it for episode 24. Real quickly, we just want to say thank you to everybody who's been liking, sharing, subscribing. Our channel and our pages are growing significantly over the past few weeks, so thank you very much for doing all of that. It really does help. Jared, I will make sure to get a hold of you regarding your prizes, and we'll get that sent out. Make sure you guys tune in next week, and other than that, good luck to all the deer hunters that are heading out this weekend, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.